applies. So go for it, Chuck.
Okay, all right. So basically, I really did. I got up really early. I stayed up really late, just kind of studying some of the tricks of the trade from hunting. And the first thing was, the first comment from all of the different hunting was to go extra slow. And what they basically said is taking that moment, like when you are going hunting, again, and I've never done it, but to take that moment and just stand still before you get started. It's kind of like snapping yourself into that zone, into that moment where you are ready to just go out and get it. But I kind of equate it a little bit more with making a plan and thinking and forcing yourself into a quiet, silent moment. Maybe in the morning they talk about meditation, all that sort of stuff, but kind of going extra slow right out of the gate and making a plan and thinking about what you're going to do. The second one is what I really liked, Corey, and I think you'll like this piece. The biggest key to hunting is to, number 2, stop at the noise. And so there's a saying that animals, and this goes for sellers too, have terrific senses. All right, and they know when someone is actually after them or hunting them or maybe coming. And for hunting they're coming at them with a gun, but you're supposed to kind of really listen and as we've already created that plan, look for the sound of that snapped twig. So when they're there, they're stopping at the noise, they hear something. For us, it may be, I see a post on Facebook of somebody that is painting their house, or I see a post of somebody whose kid left for the military, and so maybe they don't need those extra rooms, or maybe it's somebody that just called you to ask you about the market. Maybe it's somebody that just sent you a very simple email that if you read between the lines, it looks like they want to buy or sell, right? So the big question is, are you listening for the sound of that snap twig? And I was thinking, the real powerful lion, Corey, is going to be that one that has the best hearing and the best ability to kind of scope out the landscape and figure out where those snap twigs are. So, and if a seller, for example, sees and smells you coming in with commission breath and all that sort of stuff, they're going to go right back to feeding or whatever they were doing before it was disturbed. So listening for that snap twig and then having the right approach is kind of number 2. Number 3.
And I think there's some great stuff that applies there for us too, because especially in markets like this where it's so fast paced, there's all the multiple offers. One of the things we have to do to be able to focus is to silence all that noise around us and silence all the noise that's in our own head to be able to focus on what's most important, get the task at hand done.
I like that one. Silence the noise. I think that's it's not just about us being quiet, right? It's about trying to block out, especially through COVID and through all of these different things, right? It was really about how do we stop ourselves from getting caught up in these things. So I like that one.
Yeah, that's
like that one, Jenny?
So good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I wrote it down.
All right, yeah, me too. Silence the noise. So, sorry, speaking of that, I'm going to silence my my watch. All right, so stop at the noise. And honestly, I know you have a lot of great content with you, Corey. Like if you see anything that you think applies here, let me know. And again, I'm going to continually restate, Jenny, that I don't hunt. I've never killed anything or skinned anything. I've never done. I mean, that's not true. When I was a kid, I used to shoot birds, but that's not the point. I know I feel really bad about it. All right, don't judge me. So, the next thing was number 3. It's quick stepping for the deer is what they were talking about, and this is in Outdoor Life, and this was the top article on hunting. But it basically said sellers and animals and all that sort of stuff. There's a cadence to the way we walk, and people know when they're being chased, and they know, when people, I said this before, but are coming at the wrong intent. But the way that hunters work is they're supposed to do a short sprint. They sprint for 10 to 20 yards, and then they stop, and then they reevaluate where they're at. And then they sprint for 20 yards, they stop, and they reevaluate where you're at. And I think that's us with our business plans and with our goals and with everything, especially for the true hunters, is you run, you stop, you evaluate. Okay, cool. Do I keep going? Did I take care of this step? Did I take care of this step? Did I take care of this step? And you stop and you do it again. And for them, they want to run as light as possible and be as kind as possible and as, acquiesce to the needs of everybody as possible. But, don't run in with the heavy footsteps, like I said, with Rick Hagan just pointed out, the commission breath comment. So just quick stepping and having a goal, but running and getting to that next point, to the next point. We talked about that in the motivation stuff too, the next point. So that's the quick stepping. Next is in the hunting world, it's when you're looking at a seller or a buyer or an animal in this case, which I hate to say. Does that make me sound like a bad person?
No, because you don't do it. Peter told you to do this.
And I know there's a lot of hunters out there.
Which is okay.
All right. So, But it just talked about running forward and, finding out where potential prospects are, whether you're hunting or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then once you don't see anything at that point, it's continually circling back. So hunting is continually circling back to that place you were at, continually circling back, that big circle that you keep coming back because, it may not be the situation now, but when you come back in an hour, it might be, or 3 hours, it might be. And I think that's the same for us. So, whether you have a farm or whether you've touched a client or whatever, it's like, I can come here right now and you're not ready, but I need to continually circle back, continually circle back, continually circle back. And, that's just one of the things to help guide you to the correct spots is just to make sure that you're going back and hitting things and hitting things and hitting things. So that's the next thing. So, yes, please.
This sounds like lead follow-up to me, circling back, because they weren't ready in the last conversation, but they may be ready in the next. And if you don't circle back, you're going to miss that opportunity.
Right. And I also... You know what, Corey? I know we have some super studs on the call, and I would love to, actually, I'm going to hit up on Tony real quick. Tony Santiago, hopefully he didn't check out on us already because he got all offended by the hunting. But Tony, man, you're one of the baddest ass, title guys around. Like, how do you address making sure that you're keeping in contact with everybody? And I don't want to say you're hunting us as agents, right? But you are doing your job to make sure that you are staying on task to try to get your business. So what type of things are you doing, Tony?
Well, I think it's just exactly what you're talking about. It's always just the maintenance of it all. The constant checking in, the being present, being top of mind. I mean, it's no different than what we do with realtors, and obviously a smaller scale than you guys do with the general public or a farm or, your SOI or whatever it may be. But it's just that same ability of keeping top of mind. So, I mean, it is hunting because you're always looking for the opportunity, and just kind of keeping on task. Because I think when you're, in your terms of hunting today in that realm, you're always hunting. You're always looking for the opportunity. And I think a lot of agents, when, especially newer agents, when they've arrived into this business and this lifestyle, is that when they're listening or paying attention to the opportunity and light bulbs start going off, they've arrived into, real estate and how we do things and how we stay top of mind. So
now, what about Tony, and this is maybe there'll be some tricks of the trade here that you could share. What about like for people like, people that are trying to get the initial contact, like how do you get people that are new to the business or new to the company to use you? Like what sort of things do you use to kind of break the ice or chase them down, especially in this sort of an environment, right? Or this might be it, I guess. It could be Zoom and all that stuff. But what are you doing to create those initial conversations and create those leads from the beginning, as you're, in a sense, chasing them down and trying to, provide your value?
It's in this environment, I'll just speak from obviously now with virtually, any opportunity that I can message them via any aspect of social media, DMs, just to set up some kind of visual appointment for myself. Maybe it's a FaceTime, maybe it's a Zoom, maybe it's a Messenger, or maybe it's just DMing back and forth and trying to set up if there's an opportunity for an appointment. I look at all avenues. I don't keep myself pinned in one direction. I try to do I feel maybe there's a pattern that they like. I pay attention to what their need is or what their wants are, how they're comfortable. I think it's just being, able to adjust in any environment. Environment, really.
That ties in, Corey, to what you guys were talking about last night with Peter is being able to adjust to the market. That was one of your points, right, Corey? Is always being prepared and adjusting to the outside effects of what's happening in the world.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk some about that.
Okay. I was thinking about something else too, real quick before we move on, but. Up here, and I'm not sure what it's like in San Diego, but things are opening here. I mean, all the restaurants are open. Everything has never really closed here. This is the IE, but I was talking to an agent yesterday, and I was going to tell you too this, Jenny, and they're contacting all their clients now, and they're meeting all their clients for lunch. They're like, you know what, it's opened up, the restaurants are up, a lot of these people have been pent up, and they basically just say, hey, would you like to go grab a coffee? Would you like to go to lunch? And they're literally trying to strike right now as everything opens up to build that opportunity to get back and go out and actually have lunch with all their people, or breakfast, or coffee, or something. And I think this might be a good time to consider adding that into your business for everybody. You know, of course, if they're comfortable.
Right.
You know, and we should probably be doing the same with, you know, prospects and all that stuff, because things are going to change, you know, which just popped up there on our screen.
I don't know. It's a mission.
Oh, yeah. Nice, huh? All right. So so that being the case, let's keep charging. The next one is, you know, anticipate where, you know, the prospect may be. And again, this is the hunting one, but you guys know where they are, what they're going to be doing, you know, and it's us to determine, you know, the direction and rate of travel of how we want to get to them. And that's why I think things like, you can never beat phone calls. You can never beat texts. You know that they're always near their phones. You know that they're always near their home at this point. But it's just really trying to figure out where the best place to spend my time. And that's kind of what I was asking Tony. And I think Tony's getting a lot of business from these calls. Everybody knows who he is. You know, Becca's on all our calls. She's doing prospecting groups, you know, all that sort of stuff. But it's really figuring out where they're going to be. And, you know, when the market started to crash, Corey, before, and not that the market's crashing, I'm not saying
No, I didn't.
No, of course not. But when the market started to crash before, the first thing we did was we started telling everyone, learn how to do BPOs, learn how to do short sales, learn how to do foreclosures. And I feel like as things are opening up now, we need to shift back out of Zoom, maybe, you know, and I'm saying there's always going to be a piece of our lives.
Right, for sure.
But really try to reestablish, you know, I mean, I've had my COVID shot. I mean, half the companies had their COVID shot here now. I mean, but be the first one to reach back out to those clients and say, hey, I'm gonna, if they're acceptable and, you know, if you're within the rules, I'm going to have a little shindig at my house. We're going to have a poker tournament. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. But maybe start adjusting. What do you think, Corey, to, you know, maybe starting to create that human interaction again, which is what all of us on this call and all of us as real estate salespeople are best at. Do you think it's time to start doing that?
Well, I think it's time, Chuck, to start looking at where other real estate agents have lost their focus. For example, farming. A lot of agents stopped farming because their method of farming was either going door to door, or they felt there wasn't going to be a return during COVID. Which probably wasn't the best decision. So I think refocusing on that is great, and doing what, you know, every county's different, doing what we're allowed to do. Certainly everything's starting to open up. So if you're feeling comfortable with that and your clients are comfortable with that, restaurants are open. You know, we talked the other day about a book, Never Eat Alone. So that was a recommendation that came up through one of our conversations in chat. So I agree.
You know what, I'm going to jump. Hey, Mary Beth, are you on the call? Because I wanted to ask Mary Beth Kelly. You said never eat alone. Okay, cool. That sounds
I'm
like.
Here.
So Mary Beth, let's be honest, and everybody knows this. I mean, she's brought in, you know, 3 feet from gold. She brought in the billionaire. She brought in the NFL coach. I mean, Mary Beth, you know this, all right? You're the queen of networking. I mean, you and your husband have said, hey, Chuck, when are we going to grab dinner a couple times? I know you were out with dinner with Peter last week. Are you starting to make any adjustments based on the market right now with, you know, reestablishing your networking with your people in any different way yet?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've secretly had, you know, COVID friendly and physically distant dinners and lunches with our past clients, and reaching out to them to make sure they're okay, you know, dropping off food to them. So yeah, I think going forward, it's a great thing for all of us to dig deep into our database and, you know, go see people.
I love
safely,
it.
Of course, Rick. Safely, I promise.
So basically, you're kind of making that change, Mary Beth, right? You're going back to the physical interaction with all of your people. And you
Absolutely.
have been. And you have been.
People are like crack. I need people.
People are like crack, I know. You don't take a crackhead's crack pipe? I understand. People are like crack. Thank you. Okay, the next one is, you know, kind of like really following the fresh tracks and making sure, and I think Corey said this earlier, it's follow-up. And when we do all of our masterminds and we do, you know, all of that stuff, even our top agents in our company, and I'm sure it's the same with West, are notorious for not calendaring out and keeping in contact enough and following up. Like somebody could say, hey, Jenny, I want to sell my house in 6 months, and then you don't call them for 4 months or 5 months, and you guys know 6 months means 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we run into that, right? Or if somebody says they're making a move, it's usually right away, right?
I know. It's not 6 months.
No, it's not 6 months. So, basically just making sure that we're continually following up and, and that's just basic stuff, but I'm just giving you some of the stuff that I came up with this morning. The next one, and this goes back to what we were talking about, Jenny, do you remember, when you have a task at hand, like that, when you want to make a bunch of calls, like this is one of the suggestions from the book that Jenny and I are reviewing on our Monday Motivation. But one of the things to do is when you know what you need to do, like, do you remember, Jenny? So if you wanted to call 15 prospects today, what are you supposed to do?
I'm supposed to call the hardest person first.
Call the hardest person first. And then what about your environment?
I need to clean up my space, which is hard for some, but like clean it up so it's clean, so you only focus, because I'm sure most of you are like me because we're in sales, we have ADD, so we have to get away the distractions and just focus on making those calls.
Yeah, and this is one of the things from the Brian Tracy book that we're reading right now, and she just hit on it. So let's say that you guys all made a decision today that you wanted to prospect, and you wanted to call 30 people, which is a lot.
30's a lot.
30's a lot, and but let's say 10 texts, 10 DMs, and 10 calls, which I think is very realistic.
Which, can I, real quick,
Yes.
Tony said, talk how they want to. And what I heard from that, what Tony was saying was, if they're a DM person, DM them. If they're a call person, call them or text. Because if I'm not a caller and you call me, I'm going to be like, oh.
I know.
But if you're a text, that's what I heard you say, Tony. I don't know if that's what you meant, but that's what I heard. Okay,
Matching,
cool.
NLP, however, and it can extend to even if they want to DM on Instagram instead of texting. Some people are just that way. You just got to figure and learn your people.
Right.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right. You're right.
Thought about that.
So one of the things that it was talking about is, if I know that I want to call those 30 people or text 10 and DM 10 and call 10, is to clean everything off your desk and only pull out the items on your desk for the things that you need. So obviously for some people it could be, they have one of their Facebook with open on this screen. Another one they've got their, their whatever app they're using, their hit 'em up, on this screen. The other one, maybe they've got, 10 cards that they're going to write out. But you have to clear off your space and remove the clutter. Hey, Corey, can you delete or shut down whoever that is? Getting really bad feedback here. And thank you. And so it's just important to clear off your desk. And this is, they're talking about brushing away all the trees and having a clear line of sight is what they're talking about in hunting.
Okay.
But this one is clean off your desk, have your Facebook open or Instagram for those 10 DMs, have your personal notes written out, and have your phone ready so that you can use the Hit 'em Up app to text out 10 people. So
love it.
Really it's just about setting aside time and removing the distractions. I don't know about you, but I have a pad of paper right here, and this will distract me in about 5 minutes. I keep looking at it, and I've already talked about half the stuff that's on here, but
I know
it's just a matter of clearing away that brush, Corey, and just making sure that if I'm in a prospect, nothing can get in my way. Like this, we do this on purpose that there's nothing on this table, right? So just something to kick around. The next is, from time to time, and we talked about this before, just to continually recircle and to make sure that you are paying attention to the places you've been before, and that directly applies to. I know some of you guys are guilty of this. Have any of you guys sold a house in the last year and a half and not talked to them since? That would be my question. And you know what? Most even top producers, if you've sold a house in the last year and a half and haven't talked to them, I want you to admit it right now. This is like Alcoholics Anonymous, all right?
And I'm like looking through, nobody's shaking their heads.
Well, somebody out there has probably, and I'm not talking about a text, I'm not talking about a mailer, I'm talking about when's the last time you talked to them. Guilty. Thank you, John Hill. Thank you. Now the truth's coming out. Just make sure that you reach back out. And John Hill, that person that you haven't talked to in a year and a half, you need to call them today, dude. And just tell them how much you miss them and you think about them and apologize for not reaching out. And just give them a little market update. And I think we'll all be good. Thank you, John Hill, for being the only honest person on the call. All right. The next one, this is just too brutal. I'm not gonna go over how to follow a blood trail. We're just not gonna do it. But anyways, I can't do it. It's just something in me. I don't want to know what happens to my food. I just want to know that it's on my plate. All right. So the next is, one of the biggest things about hunting is getting in first. And what they mean is, I guess when hunting season opens up, the parking lots are packed.
Really?
Everybody shows up. There's thousands of people out there ready to hunt. And it talks about being the first one in that parking lot and to be there at midnight Go find yourself an elevated spot away from the road and sleep in a spot that the next day you know that you can go get it. So it's the same thing in real estate by kind of beating everyone else to the parking lot. You know, if you see somebody that's a potential sale, if you see the market changing, you want to be there first. If you see somebody that, you know, is just hinting that they may want to buy down the road, somebody as a friend of yours and their lease is coming up on their tenant, you know, I mean, just being the first one there. And just being ready to roll is one of the keys I think that is important for everybody. Another one is don't follow the leader. You know, you can do this on your own. So, you know, stay in your lane and do what you need to do with your business plan, and don't jump around and try to do what everybody else is doing. Do the things that you do best. So if you are a social farmer, and look, Mary Beth, I know you're a great social farmer. I talked to you on the phone, and next thing you know, 15, 20 minutes are away from you and your husband because you're so good at it. I mean, you're a great conversationalist. That's your wheelhouse. That's your skill. For other people, it might be social media. It might be DMs. You know, just continually stay in your lane.
I like that.
Next one is sleep and comfort. You know, just make sure that you have great tools, and that's one of the things we do have at Coldwell Banker, luckily, between Moxie and Prospect Square and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Hopefully you are using those tools, and I mean, having the best gun, you know, and having the best gear and having the best binoculars, and all that sort of stuff. You know, just make sure that you are utilizing those tools. And the other thing is making sure, and I know everybody knows this, that you are going onto their social media before you meet them, that you are scouring social media, which I think everybody's on there. Hopefully you guys are scouring every single day for 20 minutes looking for people that, you know, are painting, right? Like I told you before, like had a baby, somebody's pregnant, you know, hey, congratulations. Oh, good. You want to move, you know, somebody, you know, like I said before, like a couple that's showing pictures of how happy they are, right? That's 2 divorces. You know, I mean, 2 houses to sell. I'm totally kidding. But, you know, all those sorts of things. So just be prepared for unique scenarios, but make sure that you're kind of reading out all the signs. So
yeah, because we're all on there anyway. So maybe if we did it more professionally, if I put my professional glasses on instead of like, oh, look at her.
Instead of looking for the hot mess, the fun stuff.
No, that's not me. That's you. I enjoy other things.
All right. So well, it's just a little piece of it. And of course, be aware of the coyotes, you know, and those are the ones that the Zillows and the Fizbos and the 1%ers, you know, the low commissions, is be aware of those predators. And again, I believe if you get there first, and if you're top of mind first, you're going to beat out all those things. For sure. That's getting there at midnight, you know, and being prepared and keeping in touch and circling back. So that's just a few things, Corey, that I had kind of rolled out. Just a few little tips. Hopefully somebody gets something, but I'm going to allow you, man, or actually you want to, we can either roll over to that video, Corey, or we can jump over to your section, your call, man.
Well, so I know that Peter picked out a video. Chuck, I haven't watched it yet. But I know it was important for him. He liked it a lot, so he wanted us to see it. So with that disclosure, go ahead and run the video.
All right. You ready, Adam? Can you run it for him?
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay, here we go, guys. He's just loading it up right now. But I think the main thing is just, you know, keep doing what we do. Just stay in your lane. Have a marketing plan. Stick to it. Text people. Call people. You know, DM people, send them personal notes. It's so powerful. Hopefully all you guys sent, you know, your clients out some lotto tickets for St. Patty's Day. You're doing something cool for Easter. You know, just make sure that you have a plan and are sticking to it, because that's the way, you know, hunting is the most successful. So it's all you. Go ahead. This is the difference between a lion and a gazelle, right? Uh-oh. All right, so here we go.
When you are a true hunter, you don't go by time, you go by the gazelle. I'll say it again. When you are a true hunter, you don't hunt from 8 to 3. Why? Because the gazelle may not be open from 8 to 3. You hunt until you get a gazelle, and you don't stop until you get one. And then you get another, and then you get another, and you get another. And so somebody says, E.T., you number 5 on some list as a top motivational speaker in the world. You're number 10 in certain lists. How do you feel? I said, I feel terrible. I feel worse now than I ever felt before. I said, why? I said, because at first I wasn't going after the number 1 guy. And now that I'm on the list. What the gazelle realizes is that the way it operates, that the way it performs, that the way it goes about its daily business is contingent upon life and death. That if that gazelle does not do what he or she is supposed to do, it will be eaten by a lion. you are a lion, even if you are a lion and you have the advantage, that when the sun comes up, if you're a gazelle or a lion, you better get to running. Because if you are a lion, a gazelle is still not going to come to you and say, just eat me. Every single day when you wake up, whatever it is that you do professionally, you better make sure you're not in the back of the pack. You better be as close to the front, if not up front, as possible, because every single day when the lion wakes up, it's only one thing on that lion's mind, and that is catching the gazelle that couldn't keep up. Right? So what happens, guys, if you don't know this, that a lion has a different type of appetite. So the more, when a lion, like a shark, tastes blood, it's dangerous. So you don't get to the point. Listen to me, a 9 to 5 person, they make a sale and they're excited. When you get to my level and you get one thing, then you try to get to the next level, then you try to get to the next level, then you try to get to the next level. A true hunter hunts. Okay, you missed what I just said. A true hunter's goal is not the prize. A true hunter's goal is to hunt. That's what they live for. They live to hunt. They don't just live to catch it. It's the whole process. Every day in Africa, in the safari, a lion wakes up. Every single day in the safari, a lion wakes up. Right? And every single day in the safari, a gazelle wakes up. It says that if you wake up and you're a gazelle, you realize if you're going to survive as a gazelle, if you're going to survive, you must outrun the slowest gazelle. In your mind, you're thinking you got to outrun the fastest lion. That's not the truth. You just got to stay ahead of the slow gazelle. That's it. Here's the challenge, though. I asked myself when I read that story, that's what's on the surface. I read it, and I started asking myself, E.T., what's the difference between a gazelle and what's the difference between a lion? What's the difference? I know that they're wired differently, but what's the difference? And what I discovered is that the gazelle is running from something. The gazelle is running from something. So as long as the lion is chasing the gazelle is running. But as soon as the lion stops chasing the gazelle, it stops. That's a lot of you in this room. You will run. You'll do what you're supposed to do. As long as you're getting pushed, as long as you're getting motivated, as long as somebody is encouraging you, as long as somebody's coaching you, as long as somebody's pushing you, as long as somebody's prodding you, you're doing what you're supposed to do. As long as somebody's calling you, as long as someone is enticing you, as long as somebody's giving you rewards, you're moving. But as soon as that stops, you stop.
All right, so Corey, Peter gave us this. I'm not sure if it's another hour to the video or another 45 minutes. So I figured we'd pause there. I think we get it. So Jenny,
that's aggressive.
I know. Well, that's Peter.
I was like, holy moly.
So Jenny, are you a lion or are you a gazelle?
I don't even know. I was just so.
Well, when they took off and the little one was in the back, the little baby one, I'm like, gotta be faster than that one. I'm like, this is Peter. Take it easy. All right, Corey,
I'm
sorry.
the slowest gazelle. Corey, I'm telling you, I'm the slowest gazelle. It is what it is.
I'm just a parakeet in the trees watching it happen.
It's all you, Corey.
Hey, Chuck, I think that, that was definitely picked by Peter. But, to his credit, he's got that great mentality about how he operates. So, Chuck, let's continue the conversation about being a market maker, not an order taker. That was kind of a theme that Alex Perillo gave us last week. And I think as long as we're prepared, there's no fear about anything that's happened. It's all about being prepared. And I thought your comments on comparing the hunting to real estate really had some great points. So
thank you.
I hope that you and Penny and Rick and others will contribute as we move through this next part as well. So I wrote down some thoughts on being a market maker. And one of the first things is is your mindset about what you hear, what you take in, the mindset of a market maker. And one of the points there is where there's either demand or a problem, there's always opportunity. So right now we have huge demand in this market, which means that we're surrounded by a lot of opportunities. And there's a lot of challenges as well, but that goes with there being a lot of opportunities. And challenges and problems also create opportunities. So, sometimes we pray for a great buyer's market, and then when we're here, we say, I wish it was just a little bit more of a seller's market. The next thing I wrote down here is, where there's a will, there's a way. Where have we heard that before? Where did you first hear that? And I can't see chat at the moment. But I know where I first heard that. That was from my mom. Where there's a will, there's a way. And you just have to have the stay-to-itness to get things done. And then I wrote down, have an I will not let them down attitude. It's difficult right now. We've been talking about it a lot with buyers in the market and even sellers in the market controlling conditions. But yet, I'd like you to look at every client you have and say, I'm not going to let them down. Is everybody doing that? I'm not going to let them down. Whatever it takes, I'm going to find an answer. I'm going to find them the property. I'm going to get the property sold, whoever you're representing.
Corey, can I add one thing to that?
Please.
So, that I will not let them down, to our clients' attitude. I think that also applies to the people that have supported you in your life. Like you just said, your mom. Like all the people that pat you on the back and all the people that tell you, hey, Tony, you know what, you're a good title rep. Hey, Mary Beth, you know what, you're a great agent. Like all those people that have been rooting for you all of that time and all your life, you have an obligation to be successful just to say thank you to all of those people out there that have actually helped build you up in your lifetime. So feel guilty about that, people. All right, go right ahead, Corey. Sorry.
No, that was a great point, Chuck, because I think of that every day when I think about my wife and business and what I do personally and professionally. Last thing I'd ever want to do is let her down. And then setbacks are a part of success. That's something I think takes a while sometimes to learn, because when you're going through setbacks, you can either give up or you can find a way to move forward and move through the challenges. And what's really true is that the setbacks we experience are just a part of the future success that we're going to have. And a setback might delay your worthwhile goals, but they can never defeat them. Only you and your mindset can defeat a worthwhile goal.
Hey, Corey, may I jump in on that one too?
Sure.
It's almost like, for a lot of us out there in the world, I'm sure you guys all worry about this. Do you ever worry about going broke?
Every morning.
Do you ever worry about going bankrupt? Do you ever worry about losing everything you have, and having to start over?
No.
But the real kicker is, for everybody on this call, we're never starting over. Because we have a lifetime of experiences. We have a lifetime of, like Corey just said, of setbacks, of things that we've learned what not to do, of things that have molded us along the way so that life gets easier and easier. So I really like that point, Corey, is you're never really starting over. And setbacks are a part of success because you just get stronger and better, which is why I think people that have the years of experience are the badasses you want to spend your time with.
Yeah.
So I love that one. Sorry, I just had to jump in on that, Corey. I totally agree with that point.
No, thanks for doing that. All right, so I put in here a couple of, if I can get to my next slide here, a couple of examples of setbacks. So here we have J.K. Rowling, writer of the Harry Potter series. Boy, that was a slip. 5 years before writing this book, which became one of the most influential books of the 21st century, J.K. was living on welfare and struggling as a single mother. She wrote the book while she was working as a teacher at night, and her manuscript was rejected 12 different times. She was also told her chance for success was slim. but she was so determined, didn't stop, and she prevailed. So whatever's happening, whatever challenge there is, keep going, because if you do, you'll prevail. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest NBA players of all time, stands at 5'11", and he was rejected by his high school varsity team for being too short, and then became a legendary player. Could you imagine looking back and being Michael Jordan's coach in high school? Boy, what a mistake not to put him on the team. And one of Jordan's famous quotes is, he said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed." That's what made him successful. He also said, and this is great for us in real estate, "I never made a shot that I didn't take." You can't make the shot that you don't take. Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers of all time. I think a lot of people counted him out of the game after he experienced all the personal problems he went through that led to his public humiliation. And he's had, I think, to date about 7 or 8 different back surgeries now. And yet after that, and a lot of the announcers said, he'll just never be the same again. He came back and won a major tournament. And recently, of course, he was just in a horrific car accident. But I wouldn't count Tiger out. Just maybe he'll come back and play again. So regardless of what's happened, make sure if you suffer a setback, you're coming back.
Hey, Corey?
Yes.
Mind if I jumped in there?
Please.
For years, people have looked and admired Tiger Woods and the work he's done on the golf course. And it really helps me to remember that everything that he did, he hasn't done alone. He had a coach, he had a specialist, he had an accountant, he had probably 4 or 5 full-time professionals working with him on his skill and what he had to offer to the golf community. So when you're thinking about this, for me, it's always really important to remember that he didn't do this alone. He brought the skill and the talent and the desire, but he looked to the people around him for the support to accomplish his goals.
Yeah, and he's definitely doing that again right now, having to rehab again from his accident. Thank you, Rick. The next thought I wrote down about being a deal maker was to be, and now let's talk about this. He said, you're not going to have any fear if you become a great real estate advisor. So many of you have already moved into that role. Maybe you did it years ago, maybe you're in the process of it now. We all need to now, while we have the time and the opportunity, make sure we can fill the role of the real estate advisor. And the way to do that is to be a nonstop student of the business and a nonstop student of the market. Rick, in my career, I've seen agents who start in the business, they do a lot of coaching, they do a lot of learning, and they reach a point where they think that they've learned it all, and there's no more for them to learn, and they're good enough. And I think when you get that attitude and you stop learning is the time you start to go backwards. So I'd encourage you to be a nonstop student of the business and a nonstop student of the market. Study those two things every day. And I'll give you some sources that you can go to make sure you're studying those. So study the competition as well. Study other successful agents and other successful business people. It doesn't matter whether they're in real estate or outside of real estate. You can learn from anyone who's successful and is doing things that you'd like to do.
Hey,
and I believe that.
Sorry, go ahead. Keep going, Corey.
Yeah, I believe, Chuck, that the competition will always provide you with ideas that will help you either innovate for your own business, or you can R&D those ideas, right? Rip off and duplicate, as Tom Ferry would say, those ideas. Every good idea doesn't have to be your own. And then think about, as you personalize it and you make it your own, what would I do to make this idea just a little bit better? And I'll give you an example, Chuck. If we look at Tesla, a great car manufacturer today, Tesla and their founder did not invent the electric car. right? The electric car was invented a long time ago, but they found a way to make it better and become the biggest manufacturer of electric cars in the world. So find the people that are successful, find the people you want to learn from, connect with somebody you believe in, whether it's Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Brian Buffini, whoever it is that you can have as a mentor, and follow them and continue to learn your whole career. Great places to keep up on the news for real estate certainly is Inman News. There's also a new offering from them called Inman Connect Now that you can take a look at, and there's others as well we'll talk about.
Hey, Corey,
Right.
Corey, I was,
Yes.
I was, again, one of these books that we're reviewing right now, it talked about the importance of, and it's not just, and I, by the way, I 100% agree with constantly learning. What Pat Riley always says, that if you are not getting better at the game, the old Lakers coach, if you're not getting better at the game, then you're digressing. And Jenny and I were just talking this week about how important it is to continue to learn and like I always say, learners are earners. And, that has to do with, reading books. And right now we have the time to do that. And attending every event we possibly can, and Corey, you're always at the Gen Blues, and, we go to the Tom Ferry events, and now people that were like, well, I found those kind of boring, are like, I can't wait till they come back. I want to go.
Exactly.
I want to go. But, I go to every single event I can, just because I always pick up something that I can bring home. And, and then you bring it back to the agents or whatever. But I think all of the agents should be there, Corey. Like, if Tom Ferry opens back up, you better believe it's going to be a power-packed, badass event. If Mike Ferry has something going on, if Brian Buffini has something going on, if there's some form of panel. So, reading, and then the panels, and the next thing is, the audibles right now, and the material that you can get that's out there and available from podcasts, from superstars. And I think these calls are about that. And I think West and Coastal Alliance and, Town and Country and Associated Brokers, like, we're doing that. Like, everybody's looking for nuggets all the time. But I just want to tell you, we need to always be getting better, because I don't care how old we are. Like you said, man, the minute we think we're not getting better, we're toast. So anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I had to agree with you, man, because I think it's so important.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chuck. And even if they don't open up right away, join them virtually.
Agreed.
Yeah, so be a student of the market. Alex was really talking about that, and I believe that robots and computers can gather a lot of data. They can give you interpretation of that data. But when it comes to getting advice, people will pay other people for advice. And we always want to be in real estate the people that the people come to when they're ready to make a decision. And I believe what's happened with Zillow over the time that they've been in business, they've gathered a lot of eyeballs. They've created a great site where people go to find out about real estate. But when they're ready to make a decision, they're going to their trusted advisor. And that's exactly what we want to be, is their trusted advisor. And the way we need to do that is we've got to be very knowledgeable about our hyper-local market, which you can use products like 10K InfoSparks, CAR's Industry 360 is a great tool. Stephen Thomas, who we've had on our call several times, and that publishes great reports on housing. Those are all great resources for us to continue to learn about our local market. Then we have CAR for our statewide, and places like NAR, Housing Wire, CoreLogic for national news. And certainly Inman will give us national news as well. So just be a student of the market. All right, without exception, and I really mean that, without exception, find the right home for every buyer you represent, whether or not that home is on the market for sale. So right now we have this huge shortage of inventory. It's not the first time in real estate history we've had a shortage of inventory in the market. Many of you have seen markets similar to this before. So what do you do when there's no houses on the market? Let me give you some thoughts. So buyers decide to buy first by what? They decide to buy based on...
Let me just make a quick comment here.
Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Corey, I think it's so terribly important to also note that fewer houses on the market are so much better than too many when you're the listing agent.
Yeah, for sure. This is the time to be a great listing agent.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. And that's where we really want to move to, is taking listings and using every buyer to make sure that we're taking listings. And buyers buy by first what they can afford to buy, right? Payment and price. And then what do they look at next? They look at, based on what they can afford, what area or city do they want to live in? And the next thing they do is they drill down into what's the neighborhood, where are the neighborhoods that I can afford to live in, and which one do I like best? If I had my choice, what would be my number one neighborhood that I can afford, right? So a lot of times we're waiting, Steve, for inventory to come on the market in those neighborhoods, and we're not doing anything proactively. So it's real important we be proactive as the real estate trusted advisor. So if there's no inventory, one of the things you can do in most areas, not in some of the high-end custom areas, but in most areas, there are homes that were built by builders that have the same floor plan that repeats every so many homes. So if you can't find a home today, what if you took the old examples from recent solds and pendings of those floor plans, those pictures, and you got buyers involved in, would this be the right home? Is this a home you would want to buy? And then from there, reach out to Tony and Jose and Sandra and your title people and get a list of people who own that floor plan or that type of home. And then you've got to go out and work those and circle dial for listings and mail and email and text and all the things that we've been talking about, looking for that home. And so those are the activities that we have to do when we talk about we're not going to let any buyer down. We're going to find them their home, whether it takes a day, whether it takes a month, or whether it takes a year. We're going to find them the right place to live. All right. Another thought on marketing strategy is to make market every listing to take another listing. That should be our mindset. Every listing we take, we should be taking another listing from that listing, even if our listing sells in an hour or a day. So many times we'll talk about, gee, I didn't have time to market that listing because it's sold already, so I can't do my marketing. Well, why not? Make sure you get your just listeds out. Make sure you get your just solds out. Make sure you shoot that video and put it everywhere on social media and online, and that you hold a virtual event and that you advertise the property online so you can continue to build new leads. Does that make sense? I hope everybody's muted. So market to make every listing secure another listing for you.
That's part of the problem right now, Corey, right? I mean, a little piece of it is, when things are selling in 2 days, it just doesn't give us time, unfortunately, to really, optimize that 30 days of just listed cards and in escrow cards and just sold cards. I mean, we can still do it, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult to be able to really promote that place. But I'll bet you as inventory increases, that changes. So.
That's so smart. We all should be doing that, no matter how quick it sells. Smart.
True.
Smart, Corey.
Yeah, and for sure it will change. And the point is, let's create a new piece of business for every piece of business that we do. Getting down to the last points. The next one is, look for trends. The other day on our call, Chuck, Evelyn Allen and the agent who did a listing presentation for us, which was fantastic, talked about looking for people who are moving out of state, because that's been a trend of people moving out of state. And she came up with a marketing plan and a calling script for looking for people moving out of state. And that worked to secure her new listings. in today's market in California, there's a lot of frustration with landlords who haven't been able to collect rent, or who are worried about what's happening with the tax base that they have in the property, and how they're going to handle their estate. There's a lot of those that are looking to sell today. So there's another trend in the market that you want to take advantage of. And as you spot those trends, don't be afraid to jump in and test the trend. The last thing you want to do is get in at the middle or latter part of a trend. Get there at the beginning and capture that business. All right, I love this one. Do the things that others aren't willing to do. So tomorrow you'll have what others can't have. It takes a lot of hard work in any real estate market, especially this one. But I think it makes it easier if you work with passion and you continue to develop your systems to serve every client at a level of operational excellence. So, and not hit and miss service. So I'd ask everyone to think about that. What do you need to do in the systems in your business to bring them up to a level of operational excellence? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate your systems right now for operational excellence? And then look at what do you need to do to increase it from whatever you're rating it, if it's not a 10, to make it a 10. So I think we all believe that every client should be served the same way, and every client should get great customer service. We should make every client a raging fan, but sometimes we don't deliver the same service, in the same good way with every client, and then we miss an opportunity. So look at what do you need to do to raise your business to operational excellence. When you're operating with excellence, you're never going to be challenged or at risk from any competitor. And I really believe this part about doing things that others aren't. All the technology and all the scientific data will never replace real estate agents. I believe there is so much that you guys do every day that people outside the industry, or people who are looking at data, or people who are looking at simplifying the home buying process, all that is great, but they don't see and they can't replace the things that you do that make a difference to the clients you serve. Technology can't do it, robots can't do it. So know how to use that data that they create and use the technology. And with that data and technology, you'll never be replaced, but you might be replacing real estate agents who don't know how to use it. And we hear that often, right? Technology is a challenge. CRMs are a challenge. Well, yes, they are, but we have to learn to do it, and we have to learn to be great users of that technology so that we're not left behind. And that's simply a personal choice. So the last point there is simply do what others are not willing to do. So tomorrow you can do what others can't and be a market maker. So we're right at the bottom of the hour. That's the information I had. Chuck, do you want to add some final thoughts?
No, I just want to head back to where we started, and that is everybody, reach out to your people. Jenny, reach out to your people.
I will.
All right, mail them stuff, DM them, text them, like be that hunter. I mean, that video was cool. You are one or the other, and I think a lot of us were scared that we could be the gazelle.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be, and all that stuff you're talking about, being prepared and all the fun stuff, making sure that you're providing the value as a human and getting back out in front of people is everything. And no, Corey, I'm great, man, and I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. I hope everybody prospects this weekend. I hope everybody reaches out to everybody they can and just goes out and gets it and stays fired up, right? Fired up Friday.
Fired up Friday.
All right. So sounds good, Corey. Are we out of here?
All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right, guys.
Don't be the gazelle.
Don't be the gazelle. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.